and people have been spending very well. It's not been a difference. It's not been, you don't have to reduce your price. You don't have to do that. If you're a certain category of restaurant, you just carry on what you were doing and you have your product.
The Interpreting Wine Hospitality Summit was recorded in September 2020, with the world recovering from the global pandemic and the hospitality sector still particularly challenged. Allow me, Interpreting Wine founder Lawrence Francis, to be your guide to this series of 7 episodes featuring some of the UK's most respected voices discussing the impacts of the pandemic on food, wine, cocktails, bars, retail and events. Listen, share ideas and reconnect during this 4-day virtual summit held across web, podcast and social media. Please do share content and ideas using the hashtag IWSummit and encourage anyone who might be interested to sign up at interpretingwine.com/summit. You heard the man. It gives me fantastic pleasure to welcome you to Day 1, Session 1 of the Interpreting Wine Hospitality Summit 2020. Day 1 is all about wine, and we start with Laure Patry, Executive Head Sommelier for Jason Atherton Social Company. She is a former guest on Interpreting Wine, previously appearing in April 2018 in episode 66. So she starts this conversation by bringing us up to speed with the last 28 months, the opening she's been involved with, and how her role has changed. I was then keen for her to describe the early days of the pandemic and how they mobilised as a team to first close sites and ultimately make the most of the lockdown and the unexpected learning opportunities it presented. Laure describes how suppliers and producers embraced technology and were extremely generous in the face of uncertainty. In a wide-ranging discussion, we then talk about price sensitivity in the wake of the pandemic, Eat Out to Help Out and government support, innovation in the sector and how this has heightened the customer experience, before we finish looking ahead to the end of the furlough scheme in October 2020, and finish on a positive note discussing the various opportunities that are available to sommeliers. Enjoy!
So basically, I've been still around the group. We've been doing openings. So we've been opening in Shanghai a couple of years ago. I think that was one of the last opening that I did. And then we did a pop-up in Saudi Arabia, which was quite interesting. And after that, I've been back to Poland Street to help the team through January. And then after that, I came straight to City Social. Again, to support a little bit the team, and obviously being one of the biggest wine lists to take care as well of the restaurant. So usually I walk around all the restaurant, and I was here in February, and then looking for a head sommelier to set up, and then unfortunately the lockdown. So obviously we closed the restaurant, and then now just come back, but uncertain future. So for the moment we're not recruiting, as many of the restaurants in London. And then we are just looking of what's happening. But we were supposed to open actually in Mykonos in the summer. Obviously we could not go to Greece, and so we decided to postpone. So I'm not sure exactly when Jason's planned that for. I believe it will be probably next summer. We do actually also have the restaurant in Switzerland, which I went as well in end of November. So I support every year the reopening of the a winter social, if you want, which is our restaurant just for the winter season in St. Moritz. So I was there for a week. So that should be the next, I think, reopening, because they open all year through the summer, but our little restaurant there is only for the winter. So I think November I'll probably go help to support them to reopen. Okay. So that's the next future.
Okay. I mean, a large part of why I'm doing this series, and we again discussed, is really, I think, to give people who are really working firsthand in hospitality, primarily in London, I guess, a chance to reflect. I mean, it seems strange thinking that here we are in the start of September. Really, how much has changed in the last sort of 6 months, since March. And I'm just curious to kind of, ask you to almost put your mind back and look back on yourself in March and just, potentially just kind of reflect on, what were kind of some of the reactions, really, I guess, to what was coming when people, I guess, realized that the pandemic was going to have a huge impact, and it wasn't just going to be something overseas. It was actually going to be something that. So I'm just curious to just sort of ask it as quite an open question, just to ask you to sort of reflect on what were you seeing, what were you kind of hearing, I guess, at the outset.
So the last week before we closed before the government told us to close. Obviously, there was very little guests because the government said do not go to restaurants. So obviously it was a bit shocking for us because we didn't know what to do. So we actually decided, because I think when you look at the numbers, you decide that is it worth to stay open or is it worth actually to close? And, you have to pay the staff. And if you're only going to do 2 tables, it doesn't match. So the first one was Poland Street. So it was Jason. And then basically, I think he had the chat and he said, let's close it. And then we will take it from there. So we didn't know. We didn't know if we're going to reopen. We have no idea. Obviously, the flagship is Poland Street, so Jason decided to close that first. So that was on the Wednesday afternoon, so he decided not to reopen for the dinner. And then at the same time was Social Eating House, which is the one in Seoul, which is a bit more casual, a bit more easygoing. But again, it's 1 Michelin star, but on a different style. And then Berners Tavern, so obviously the hotels, obviously they had to close also. So again, a bit more fine dining. And then here as well, City Social, so we closed the next day. So they were very close together, like within a day or so. So basically we just go home and first time you don't have a job really. So it's, it was a bit shocking. And then after a week we were listening to the news and, what's going to happen. And thank God, the furlough came in and then we get supported because I think a lot of restaurants didn't know where to stand and some people were making their team redundant and, it was going quite fast, I think, because there was not reaction from the government. So it was very scary to think, so many people lost their job and where are they going to go? There's nowhere to go. You can't go home. You can't, everything was closed. So I think that 1 week was very stressful for everyone. And then after that, we were thinking, okay, then now we are safe. We're going to be at home. We just stay at home. And me, I just focus on training with my team, with the sommeliers. So a lot of every day or every 2 days, we did Zoom. Visit as well of vineyards, try to take our mind away and then keep on the wine. And it was really nice. I met some producer on Zoom for the first time, so we did some tour in Alsace with the Krenenweiss. We did some tour in Beaujolais with Mathieu Lapierre, with like some super small producer, and as well Chateau Yquem. So it was the first time they were doing this as well. So, but they were all very kind, and they wanted to do it for us because obviously we're always the ones selling the wine. So just focus on the training, and at the beginning I'm going to wake up in the morning and then do my routine because otherwise it's very easy to, you do nothing afterwards. So wake up and then have the call with the team at 10 o'clock for an hour and then someone decide to do another training in the afternoon. So it was basically almost every day or 2 days for 3 months. So it was quite intense. But we never have the time to do so much training for the sommeliers. So I think it was the time to study for us, and I understand some other people need work and they cannot sustain themselves with just the furlough. But for the people that could, I think it was 11 of us all together between all the restaurants. So it was a good team, and we wanted to do that to support them and to take them away from what was happening. And obviously we have to stay at home, so there's not a lot of other things you could do.
Yeah. And it's really, I think it's really sounds really positive that the producers were so involved, and I'm curious then. I mean, looking back, were there particular trends in terms of, were they anticipating your needs? Were you reaching out to them? Was there sort of a body in the middle who was sort of saying, you guys need,
It was a mix, to be honest. Some supplier, we asked them, we say, could you organize a Zoom with us? And then we tell them we want to see the vineyards, we want to be taken there.
Yeah.
So and then one producer, I think I didn't tell him that we want to see the vineyards, but they went in with their phone. So because you could do the Zoom on your phone. So they went in their car and then they went to the vineyard and then show us, a Grand Cru vineyard. And it was really nice for us. It really takes you away, and then you keep on learning, and then they said next time come and visit us. So it's open doors as well for the sommelier, I think, to come and visit them. Some of them were suppliers driven, so some suppliers say we're gonna do the Zoom, we're gonna do a visit in Domaine Le Fleuve, by example. So I did quite a lot of that as well. But we are not on video, so it's just the supplier with the producer. And I think in that way it's a lot more control, and then you can have a nice video of the vineyard, and if you can ask questions at the end, but you're not on video. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah,
that was the webinar.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm sure there were loads of incredible experiences across that. But I'm curious. You're, I guess, somewhat of an expert now in Zoom calls and the kind of virtual experience. I mean, would out of any of those experiences you like to perhaps shine a light on a particular experience that you had that you thought, okay, wow, that really kind of brought me something and brought my team something really unique that I wasn't expecting?
Yes, I think the Zoom for me was definitely something that I will keep in mind, and I'm still doing a few. I mean, I did one a couple of weeks ago on organic and biodynamic and natural wine, and
so this is where you actually on the other side. You were kind of hosting and leading.
And
that.
I like that because I said before. I mean, I managed to have an hour with talking to the guests. They were customer. It was not a sommelier, it was customer, so it was general public. And I get time to talk for an hour to these people. And then usually in the restaurant, you get 10 minutes at the table or 15 minutes, it's not the same. So I like that aspect of it. And I think of course, the tour of the vineyards, I love it as well. I think it's amazing to be able to be transported there. And I think it's something people should keep doing for their customer. Because it makes them, you see the vineyard is very different than just seeing the bottle of wine and just reading about it. It makes it a different experience. So, for me, the online was definitely a positive. Yeah, really something I enjoyed. And I think some people keep on doing it. Obviously, when you work in a restaurant, it's a bit more difficult with the hours to keep on doing something like that. Yeah. But I think for the guests at home, I think it's a great thing. I know 67 Paul Mall, they did quite a lot, and I watch quite a lot as well, and they record it so you can watch them later, which I enjoy that as well, because I cannot go always on the live, so you can always watch it back. And I think it's really good, if they do a specific region, not always talking about producer, but just a specific region, and then you learn very quickly when someone talks to you rather than sometimes reading a book. I mean, I feel like that in my experience.
Yeah, this is it. I guess the wine is one of those areas where even if you kind of left your job and was just studying every day, then you wouldn't learn everything. There's so much to learn, and I feel like there's so many different ways to slice the information.
Yeah.
I think it's. I would argue that because there's been so many Zooms and virtual, I would imagine that people have had to kind of step up their game as well. It's like you've got a lot of competition. You've got people on Instagram Live, you've got people on Zoom, and it's like a lot of times it's free and it's more a question of you want them at your Zoom meeting.
Of course. A lot of the suppliers were generous and they supported and they sent us the wine, so of course it attracts you a little bit more and they say, okay, I want to be with the producer, I want to taste their wine. So there was a lot of generosity, I think, from supplier in the wine trade that, send us sample and say, you can do the training with us, we will support you. And they know it's the only time, it's a good time that we could learn. We don't know the future, so we don't know if we're going to be able to reopen, so it's a bit scary. But I think that they knew that, it was going to, the support was there, and it was important for us.
Yeah, and it's and it is absolutely great, and I'm very happy that you've chosen to shine a light on, I guess, people all along the supply chain, the producers, the suppliers, yourselves, the sommeliers as well. I guess responding very positively, to what is obviously a very difficult situation. But what I also want to do, I do want to, I guess, present a balance for you as well for I guess your friends and people that you've come up with and people that you probably mentored and you've been mentored by in London and more widely, I'm sure. And I'm just curious, maybe were there either particular parts of the industry, particular parts of the supply chain that you saw and you maybe had first-hand experience of who were actually really negatively affected and they were sort of kind of hit sideways by what's happened, because I know there's been a lot of people that have been forced to close or have gone out of business, and I think it's fair actually to reflect on some of those stories as well, and some of those people.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked as well when I saw, by example, the Ledbury closing. This was probably one of my favorite restaurants. I used to go there all the time at some points, and it was quite devastating to hear that they were one of the first ones to go. That decided that maybe the style of service, I think, wouldn't work for them. So yeah, that was quite shocking. But I think and then some of the sommeliers as well contacted me that they've lost their job, top position. I'm talking about head sommelier, they lost their job, if I knew anything. So obviously I always say, look, I keep your CV. I try to, as soon as I hear something, I send the message, these people are looking, because some people, very quickly afterwards, some people started to re-employ. So some people made a lot of people redundant, and then afterwards they realize the demand is there actually, so we need some of those people back. But if you've been made redundant for a month, what do? You're going to move back, or you have to make a decision, because you don't know they're going to call you back in a month. So you make a decision and then you move on. So yeah, it was a few people I would say I heard that had to change but I think most of the restaurant, I mean, all the top restaurants just went back with it, and then because that's our passion, that's what we love to do, and then we were given a second chance, So we really hope that that this time, it's gonna work. But so far, I mean, when we opened Poland Street in August, so I went a couple of days to have them and prep, and then I saw it was so busy. It was so busy, and the people.
And what was the state of the restaurant in terms of was it then fully open? This is post July and services.
Yes, it was open. Yes, so beginning of August. So basically, because of the social distancing, I think that was one of the things that why some people closed, obviously, because the 2 meter was bit. Then they reduced to 1 meter. So Jason decided, okay, we're just gonna do 1 meter, but then we change the tabletop. We make the table bigger, so it's more comfortable for the customer. It doesn't feel like you've got a really big space, And he did some a little refurb, and then did some work downstairs as well. So basically, he stepped up his game in the restaurant and changed the entire menu, made the bar a chef counter. So now he's there on the chef counter. So he's doing now the main course from there, and then he's basically in the middle of his restaurant, so he can see all the guests can see him, and he serves the customer. So he loves that. And yeah, we didn't know. I mean, we adapted. We looked at other restaurants. You know, you always look at what people doing. Are they wearing masks? Are they not wearing masks? And then we wanted to do what was the best for the guests. You know, having the little sanitizer on the table, making them feel comfortable. So we all wear masks, and it went very well. You know, I think people now are used to it. I mean, some people wear masks, some people don't wear masks. So you don't know what to do, what people want, but. Personally, I'm very happy to wear a mask because, you know, when you see 130, 200 people per day you pass next to in a restaurant, it's an enclosed place, even though you have the space. But I just think there's still a risk, you know. I mean, we're still in the pandemic, so we can have fun, you know, and everything. And we want the customer to have fun. And then the staff can wear the mask to protect themselves. I don't see any problem. And then your customer are just really happy, and Poland Street has just been so busy, so full the entire of August, and people have been spending very well. It's not been a difference. It's not been. You don't have to reduce your price. You don't have to do that. If you're a certain category of restaurant, you just carry on what you were doing, and you have your product. You know, the food, it costs a lot of money. Something I realized a lot about that during the lockdown is the food costs a lot of money, because when you research a little bit, you know what you eat, because I research a lot of that during the lockdown, because, you know, usually you don't have time, so you're like, okay, I eat that, and then I researched, and then it was hard to get food from supermarket in London, in central London. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, totally.
So I learned a lot with the supplier from the restaurant, and then I watch a lot of Instagram, and then I saw, this person is making this with this supplier, and this supplier from the restaurant is selling to general public. So I started to order a little bit, and then obviously bigger order, and then, you know, freeze and then do this kind of thing. But the product was so much higher standard than what you get, you know, in supermarkets. And then I discovered next to where I live, there is a very nice, you know, fruit and veg place. It's all organic, and obviously it's a little bit more expensive, but the quality of the product, you know, you don't need to eat as much, you know, it's really good. So I think for the restaurant it's the same. People have learned that. They've learned the price of the food, so they should not, you know, reduce too much their price, or, you know, people know that if you have a top product, you know, it's going to be like that.
And I guess it's interesting. We're sitting here in the city, but Poland Street Social is in West End, Mayfair.
Yeah.
And the thing that really comes to mind then is we've had a much lower amount of tourists coming in than maybe in the last 20 years. I don't know. I have the figures, and I'm just curious, what did that do to the restaurant then? You know, in your sense, you know, what are people? Am I wrong, or you know, am I sort of misguided? Are people still coming in the way that they were before for business, to visit? Is this more now locals? Is this, you know, what's that done to the mix of people?
I think at Poland Street, when I was there, it was basically your regulars and people that have been waiting, and people celebrating, you know, a birthday or something. So it was not, you know, it was a different crowd. It was not the business people. But look, now we are back in September. Here at City Social, we have some business people. I see them. I'm very happy, you know, to see them for sure, for lunch and for dinner. But I guess the weekend is always the different crowd. But obviously we don't get the people that come here for the weekend, or for there's not that, because of the quarantine. It's just too complicated, especially between France. Like, you know, you go to Paris for a weekend, and then vice versa. But unfortunately the quarantine, I think, will affect, but I think mostly hotels as well. That's why I think some of the hotels, I mean, we haven't reopened the Biltmore yet, but Berner 7 is opening in a few days now. Next week, I think they're reopening Berner 7, but I think the hotels will get a bit more affected by that, because a lot of the hotels you know, it's not going to be people from the north of London that, you know, maybe for a weekend, but most of the time it will be foreigners, and so, or people on business, you know, so I think it will affect a lot of the hotels. Yeah, and some of them I think might be reopening a bit later. But the restaurant, everyone that's been opening, I've been to few restaurants. Maybe some of them in August were not so busy, but I think now people are busy. And the weekend, a lot of places I go, the weekends is really busy.
You read my mind, because that was actually one of the burning questions I had as well. Has the flow then completely changed? I mean, it's probably not relevant for you guys, the kind of eat out to help out, and I guess this kind of anecdotes around that pushing a lot of weekend trade and Thursday and Friday trade into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But I'll ask it as an open question. Have you noticed through takings or just through looking around, have the flows, the busy days, the busy times, are people kind of spreading out their visits across the day? What if anything has changed?
Yes, but to be honest, I think the helpard eat-out has worked very well for us as well. Even though if you're a top Michelin star or if you are a bit more easy, social eating house, I don't know if you saw, we did quite a bit of ad for that, but the lunch menu, they want to carry on doing it. We are one of the restaurants, like some of the restaurants that wants to keep on giving that £10 off, so at least maximum £10 or 50% of the food. So at least you feel like you're getting, something back. And it's to support us as well. And, they feel like they're helping us as well. And like social eating us.
But that didn't take away from the weekend, as it were. It was buoyant Monday to Wednesday, and you still had the same.
Yeah, you were very busy. And and I think it was really good. It was so appreciated that they did that, because it's to build up the confidence for the customer to come out. They feel like, okay, I will come out, I will have just maybe the lunch menu, because I don't know if I'm going to feel comfortable, and if I don't, maybe I'm going to go, because you don't know how the people are going to feel, and they don't know how the spacing is in the restaurant. So maybe they come and they feel like, I don't really like it, I don't want to stay, or, so I think it was as well a way to get the people to come out and build their confidence that we will look after them, that there is the space in the restaurant. And, if you look at the restaurant where you go all the time, I support it, my friend, the people that I like, the restaurant that I like to go, that was the first place I went out. And you see they've made efforts, they're trying to stay away from you, and then they've got space in between tables, so obviously they have to reduce the number of covers, so they maybe have to do more covers, or maybe they just say, okay, we're just going to do less covers and then see how it goes. So I think everyone is taking a chance, and everyone is willing to do it. But definitely the eat out help out was just like amazing for us. Yeah, it just really give that confidence to the customer to give it a try.
I'm not surprised that you've used the word confidence, and another word that people use, I think, as well, as feeling safe,
yes.
Feeling able to go out there. And it's just something that's really come to mind. Now, I'm curious, are they actually telling you that? Are they kind of talking to you about that? Or is that just something that you infer? Because I'd imagine that no one's going to be sitting down, smiling, enjoying themselves if they don't feel safe. So I'm just curious, is that more something you're seeing and you're just kind of getting the vibe from people, or are people actually giving you verbal feedback in the moment?
Well, I think because we were a little bit later to reopen. We only reopened in August and September, so I went out quite a few times, and so I was in the shoes of the guests basically, and then I wanted to see how I would feel as well, of going out, of how comfortable with my partner, and then to be honest, I felt really confident and felt comfortable, and I felt safe, and not the customers, they're not going to tell you. I think some people in the industry might tell you because they're your friends and they say, this is great, what you're doing, and but most of the guests, they don't say anything. We wear masks, they're not going to... Some of them say, oh, are you okay to wear a mask? Or, is it not hurting you? Or, no, actually, I say, I'm quite fine. I'm actually feeling quite safe, so I've got no problem with it. And, of course, at the beginning, it's something a bit different. But But no, other than that, they don't say, I feel safe or I feel comfortable in a restaurant, or they don't really say it. They just embrace it, basically. They're out, they want to enjoy themselves, and a lot of people, they're just really happy, and we want to keep on doing that, even though they can't see us smiling. We just want to make sure they're happy. So we still, talk to them and recommend, and, we're still topping up the wine. I know, it's all fine. Of course, if they want to be left alone, we will do that as well. We have to accommodate to the guest need. But most people, they've been we have the QR code, if you don't want to take the menu, but we have the menu. And I would say a lot of people just want the menu, and even at Poland Street, everyone wants the menu. Everyone wants to feel the wine list. They don't want to read through their phone. So it's just been very well, I think, accepted, and it's so nice to see. It's so nice because you just roll it. You just don't know how the people are going to be, and they're going to be scared.
I guess every night you throw your doors open and you never know.
Yeah, I mean, us now we get used to it.
More uncertainty.
Yes.
Obviously, earlier on when you had that break, and
it
was like, what's going to be the feel? What's the atmosphere going to be?
You have to as well use sanitizer. Do things that people see you doing, so at least they know you're looking after them. It's a way to keep that level, because that's what we need. We need to make sure people, stay clean and stay on top of themselves, to make them feel safe. Yeah. Sure.
And actually, again, we're obviously in tune mentally, because the thing I was thinking about, and the word I was thinking about, was innovation, and I guess the stories of the changes and the differences that we might see in Poland Street Social. I guess some of them have been forced by necessity, but there's been innovation, there's been adaptation, and I'm just curious. You mentioned there the QR code and this. I mean, and potentially beyond the other changes that you made. I mean, have there been innovation, and it can be a broader question, really, innovation you've seen in the sector, or innovation that you've seen and you've taken in-house yourself, and maybe when you were a guest in those settings that you've seen that you'd like to shine a light on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you watched, Jason was quite active on Instagram during the lockdown, which was great, which I really enjoyed as well, and I think we can all take some tips. And he actually reflected a lot on what was going on, and he had the time to do that, because opening a restaurant, and it was quite challenging. We opened so many restaurants in a small amount of year, plus having Poland Street, and it's been moving a lot. So sometimes you don't have time to reflect and think. And when he thought about it, and he thought, okay, we are gonna have to do only this number of covers. That means we're only gonna be able to make that money. We have to pay. When you look at all of these, he thought, obviously, you have to lose some of the staff, which is quite sad as well. But you have to look at the business at that stage, and keeping it safe, and then he decided. He said, "Now I know what I want to do. I will obviously spend a bit of money, do some refurb, and I know I want to drive my restaurant to have 2 stars. So I'm going to change all the food. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be there, And then he knows in his head that's what he wants. So now he's really driven by that, and all the changes and everything, and he had time to think, and I think that's great. I think why not? This is a little baby, and it will be amazing, And then when you look at the way they've changed everything, it's just like gone one step up, It's so I think some people have had time to do that. To be honest, here we've changed the entire menu as well. The chef, we've changed. The whole team in the kitchen is different. Most of them are different. So our executive head chef that used to be for all our restaurant is not here, only staying here, because he wanted a different project. So this is something new again. So we've again changed the food, and obviously here the level is as well is 1 Michelin star. We're gonna do different project in the private dining room. So I can't talk about it now because it's kind of a secret and no one's never done that before in London. So we definitely find some ideas and how can we improve and how can we be different and why we're going to attract, the people to come here. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people I've involved got more idea and more and change a bit their business. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, and yeah, I won't force you to share the innovation or the unique thing there. But I'm curious also just about the kind of the thought processes. Is it a combination of, I guess, the constraints, that the pandemic is putting in, with looking at what other people are doing, with having, I guess, the time to think and to look. I'm just curious to get inside that kind of the
yes,
thought
definitely.
process.
You have to think differently. Do people want to be more with the QR code? Looking only from their phone. It's a lot more almost futuristic, basically. Do we want that? Are we ready for that? Some restaurants much more than others. It's very difficult to for me as well to have a wine list, which is you cannot see the size when you take it. You don't know what you're waiting for when you take your phone and you say, okay, I'm going to how many pages, or when you see the size of the wine list, it's you have an idea already when you arrive in the restaurant. How long is it going to take me? But I think we have to. I think now I know for some very fine dining and old style restaurant it's difficult, and I get it, but I think we have to work a little bit different now, and we have to embrace that. Okay, we have to maybe use our phone and get that QR code and read the menu on our phone, and it's going to be, look at it. It's going to be less paper wastage. It's much better for the environment when you look at it. Now the streets, it's a lot more for walking, a lot more for bicycle. When I come here every day, there's not too many cars, not too many buses. It's much better. And what happened during lockdown? Obviously, no one could drive, so it was. But it's amazing for the environment. I just found that it's incredible. So if we can work a bit more towards that way, not say forget everything about papers, but it's much better for the future of the planet as well. So it's we have to look at that.
Yeah. It's I can't remember if we mentioned it before we turned on the mic, but I think it's that for me it's keeping the humanity and also keeping the things that, I say, maybe we've been kind of forced into doing, but that do have very positive side effects. But it's and I don't know. I mean, my speculation would be that it's a question of pace, kind of, I guess,
yes, of course,
not
because
going too fast, not
we were
pushing
also
people.
busy for many years. We were also busy. We forgot, we forgot that. We're damaging the planet on even the thing we're eating, because we promote the people to make more of this food because we're buying it. But when we look at what you buy and if you're not going to buy any more from a supermarket, I'm not saying everything, but if you don't buy certain products, it's going to help, the industry is going to help everything. And you're going to feel much better as well. It's a circle, but we've been so busy, that's for sure. And I think the good thing we can take away from the lockdown is that we've had time to realize, and we've been forced to kind of find another way to feed ourselves. Are we going to be planting our own veg? I mean, me, I've got a small balcony, but I'm planting my own veg now, not
and
everything.
You weren't before?
No, I wasn't before, and I didn't have any herbs. Now I've got, all my herbs, everything, and I've learned that, and I think we all, because now we realize, what am I eating, what's inside, or I do for the wine, I'm very conscious of it, but we have to think for the food as well. When we are sommeliers, we don't think so much, we think, of course, the great product, your top restaurant, they've got really great products, but when you buy actually from the farmers and when you buy from the supermarket, even the taste is so much difference.
Yeah.
And so I think it's, I think we learn a lot from it.
Okay, amazing. And I think, really, last question from me, and I will, and I do like to leave you the final word, and I'll always, I think, invite you to be a little bit speculative and to kind of look ahead. And I will just say, where I'm sitting here in September 2020, I guess potentially the biggest challenge, short-term challenge for the industry is coming in only next month, is the end of furlough. And I think we've almost come full circle now, because right at the very start of the conversation, you were saying what a relief and what a help that was, and all of the other sort of government support. So I guess, we do have to, and I would, ask you to address that and just, your sense of that and its potential impact more widely, I guess, but then also, of course, to potentially look forward and to kind of, how do you feel more broadly as well? But as I say, maybe starting with that hurdle, I guess that's coming next month.
Yes, I mean, obviously not everyone's gone back to work. Not everyone had the. I think it will be hard because our industry was one of the worst hit with the lockdown and the virus. So I do think there's gonna be a lot more redundancy. A lot more people are gonna lose their job. But again, I'm really hoping, because usually it's the busy season for us, November, December, when people start to go out even more. And so I'm really hoping that now people come out a bit more, and then the restaurant feel like they're going to be able to keep their staff. They're going to be able to carry on. So, it's a bit uncertain at the moment, because it's like every week is a different scenario. But and I kind of pray for no lockdown anymore. But we take a week at a time. But I do think, unfortunately, more people will be losing their job. But again, some other people are re-employing and doing something different. So maybe they have to look at what else they can do in their industry, because there's a lot of different things you can do. We work here in the restaurant, but maybe you can go and work in the wine shop when you're a sommelier, because people are still buying takeaway, So I think there is always something you can find. And as I didn't mention before, but like adaptation, many restaurants did takeaway as well. I mean, this was incredible. It was, but you could do it as well for the wine. Why not? Some restaurants did takeaway for food. You can do delivery for the wine. There's a lot of things, I think, that people don't think about that can be done, that people want. Because some people want to stay at home. So you need to give them that service that you're going to be, the online sommelier for home, or, you could do a lot of things. There's as well wineries, I mean, we sent quite a few people doing the harvest, I mean, the harvest was very early this year. So, end of August, September, some supplier asked for some of the team if they want to go and do the harvest for a month, and there's plenty of, you need to think a bit outside the box. But as a sommelier, there is a lot of things you can do, because you have your wine, experience. It's not just the service, it's your wine knowledge, and there's a lot more that can be done. But there's always things to do, and if it's not in London, you could be going to work. I know in Cornwall was really busy in the summer. A lot of people were offering job. It could be somewhere else. You could be doing something different. So I would say, I would hope people that stay positive and keep their hopes up, and then focus on maybe doing something a little bit different. But so that's the future of the. The end of the furlough. No, I mean, I don't want to be. I want to stay positive now. I want to stay positive for the customer, for the team. We have to get back to it and just be what it was before. Try to bring back all of this. Yeah. Maybe just want to say that I think you see a lot more people coming out as well now, because I think people are tired to be at home, and then they want to enjoy themselves. I mean, that's what you see, and people want to have these 2 hours in a restaurant where they're there to, have fun or meet their friend, or and I'm the same as well, So at the end of the week, or after a couple of weeks, I want to go out. I want to be with the very nice stuff in the restaurant that I really like, and I want them to recommend me something they've been tasting, or and it's supporting the business, of course, but it's as well I want to have my time as well, and I think people they want to have fun now, so, and that's what they do in a restaurant. They're there to enjoy themselves.
A huge thank you to you, Laure. I really feel as though the words that you shared there will help a great many people. If you're listening on the Interpreting Wine website, you can of course check below for the full transcript of this session, as well as my key takeaway learning points. And I've of course included the website and main social media handles for the social company. Day 1 of the Interpreting Wine Hospitality Summit continues with wine. And in session 2, I speak with Gus Gluck of GB Wine Shippers. The session is live below, so for an alternative wine-based perspective on the pandemic, head over to his session. See you there.